Welcome to another edition of my weekly pastor's comments. Today we're going to be looking at Psalm 55. And so the question I have to ask all of you is, have you ever been betrayed by someone close of you? Have you ever had a friend who you thought you knew very well just walk away from the faith? And if you had that experience, you can relate to David in Psalm 55. Because David has been betrayed, and he's been betrayed by a close friend. He says it's even a friend he used to walk in the sanctuary with, he used to worship with. But that friend has not only betrayed him and deserted him, but he's joined with the wicked in opposing him and oppressing him. Well, what does David do? And what should we do? Well, David brings his troubles to the Lord. He's under great pressure. He finds himself unable to concentrate. He said he's distracted. He's restless in verses 1 through 3. And he doesn't know what he needs to do. He even says his heart is in anguish. And so he brings these troubles to the Lord, and he brings these pressures, these circumstances of life to God. And he knows that this situation is causing him to have great anxiety. He says, I'm trembling. Terrors of death have fallen upon me in verses 4 and 5. So he's very afraid. He's got a lot of anxiety in his situation. And so much, he even wishes that he has wings, that he could fly away to the wilderness to where there's none of these storms of life around him, and he could rest and find refuge. Have you ever felt that way? You ever been in a situation where you just wish you had wings and you could fly away and not have to deal with it anymore? Are you overwhelmed? Are you exhausted from the troubles in your life and the trials? Well, what should you do? Well, you should do what David did. David, he says, as for me in verse 16, I will call upon the Lord. David prays. Brethren, it's God that gives you security. It's God that gives you hope. David says, I prayed in the evening, in the morning, at noon. He prayed 3 times a day because he had no other way to go. He had nobody else to turn to in those hard situations. He knew that God would hear his voice, and he trusted that David would deal justly with him and that God would deal justly with the wicked who oppress him. David reiterates this in verses 22 through 23, and he says to everyone who's reading this passage to cast your burden upon the Lord. Know that the Lord will sustain you. You don't have to bear your burdens alone in this life. God is there for you. He will help you to bear up under the circumstances, the situation, the trials that He's given you. He will give you strength. David says, finally, trust in Him. Brethren, trust in God. Know that He is with you. Cast your burdens on Him, knowing that He cares for you. God bless.